students, our undergraduate students, look like us, but they're fundamentally different than us. That is, they've grown up in a technology-rich, visually rich environment. They were not passive learners in K-12 school. And they come to Columbia with new expectations, much heightened expectations about what teaching involves. They don't want, for the most part, teacher-centered classrooms. They want learner-centered classrooms. And that involves a lot of change. And trying to find ways to continue the strengths of the past, but to connect better to these students. This has been the great challenge. And it's been an exciting challenge, and it's one that I think everyone has been up for. I mean, everyone that I've encountered has a sense that we're inhabiting a new world educationally, and we need to figure out what works in that world. Students read and research online. How do we get them in the library? Students not only want to create traditional research papers, but many students are eager to create new kinds of projects, web-based projects that involve hypertext or digital stories, that is, mini movies. And I want to prepare the teachers of the next generation, the professors of the next generation, to be able to teach in those new ways and really meet the expectations of the new students that we're encountering. One thing about childhood and adolescence is that for most young people, there are no irretrievable mistakes, no irretrievable failures, no irretrievable losses. But for adults, every decision sends us in one direction and closes off other options. And I'm interested in how Americans, throughout our history from the colonial period to now, have wrestled with those challenges of adulthood. My sort of broader theme is that our popular conception of adulthood, maturity, responsibility, seriousness, was a product of the 19th century. That is, it accompanied the rise of industrialization, and then it began to break down in the 1950s and 1960s. And now we live in an era where the very meaning of adulthood is quite uncertain, and we don't any longer know what it means to grow up. We want to grow, not grow.
And last question, really quick, on the subject, just such a movie fanatic. You know, I guess, you know, everybody loves these lists. Can you, recent movies that you've really enjoyed, for personal knowledge as well, but recent movies that you've really enjoyed, so things that you can see having, you know, being taught in a class 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now.
Most of the movies that I go to see are at the Lincoln Center Film Society, and so they're films that are not going to get huge play, and sometimes they're way out of time sequence. So I just saw Omar Sharif as Che in a 1969 version, which was just wonderful. Claude Lelouch was on campus last semester and showed his new movie, and it was fabulous. It had a very short run in theaters, and people really missed it.
What was it called?
I don't remember. Well, I can check on the internet. I would have told you, except I can't remember.
Okay. Okay.
But I just loved it. And that's, of course, what Columbia's best at. Here in a little room on campus, you have one of the deans of French film with, you know, a small group of film fanatics. And he's screening it. It's not a theater. It's, you know, a fairly large screen, but not a serious screen. The sound system's fine, but not great. But you have all this film intensity in one room, right? And you have one of the great directors. And I mean, where else could this happen? It couldn't happen anyplace else. It certainly didn't happen to me elsewhere.
Well, I mean, it's great that you're loving New York so much. It sounds like you finally found the right place to be.
No, it's